Hey, Mama. Welcome back to the Fit Postpartum Mom. Today, we're continuing with part 2 of my series with Alisha Carlson, a non-diet lifestyle coach. In this episode, though, Alisha takes the mic and interviews me about postpartum fitness, building healthy habits, strengthening your core, and so much more. It's packed with tips to help you feel your best as a postpartum mom. Are you ready? Let's go. Are you finding it hard to keep up with the demands of motherhood because your energy is always low? Is your weak core holding you back from feeling strong and confident in your postpartum journey? Do you avoid looking in the mirror because you're not happy with what you see? Hey Mama, welcome to the Fit Postpartum Mom podcast, where you'll learn how to reclaim your energy, strengthen your body after pregnancy, and finally say goodbye to the postpartum pooch in less time. Hi, I'm Dr. Jena, but you can call me Jena, and I'm a physical therapist, wife, and mom of 4 girls who has cracked the code on how to strengthen your core postpartum in the easiest and safest way possible. I too struggled with my postpartum fitness journey as a new mom, but now I'm stronger than ever, and I'm here to help you do the same without the stress, exhaustion, or struggle. If you're ready to fit fitness into your busy schedule while you navigate your postpartum journey and stay motivated along the way, then you're in the right place. It's all about progress, not perfection, and I'm here to help walk you through that journey to feeling strong, confident, and energized. That energy comes from within, not your coffee. Let's roll out that yoga mat, girl. It's time to do this. Mama, does this sound familiar? You're struggling to get up off the floor during tummy time with your baby. Nothing in your closet fits, and even when you try to dress up, you still feel super uncomfortable. And at night, lying next to your husband, you can't shake the feeling of self-consciousness. It's hard, but you don't have to stay stuck. If you're ready to save time with my 10-minute workout program, finally get rid of the postpartum pooch and replace it with a strong, confident core, then joining Postpartum Ab Rehab is your next step. This is a proven program that is specifically designed for busy moms like you who want to feel stronger, who want to lose the inches off their waist and reclaim their energy back, all without spending hours working out at a gym. You can do this from home. You can do this in under 10 minutes a day. And I can do this with you and help coach you and encourage you along the way and keep you accountable. Accountability partners are proven to improve your success with the goals that you have in mind. So if your goal is to lose the postpartum pooch and to have a strong core after having a baby, then join Postpartum Ab Rehab. Just go to livecorestrong.com/program and get started right away. All right, are you ready to hear Alisha interviewing me on her show, the Strong Her Way podcast? All right, let's listen in.
I am so excited to bring this guest to you today. We have Dr. Jena Bradley with us today. Jena, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I am a mom of 4 from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm a physical therapist. I've been practicing for over 15 years. And throughout my 4 pregnancies, I decided to start a blog called Live Core Strong, which is helping postpartum moms and pregnant moms how to strengthen their core throughout their motherhood journey. And the blog evolved into a podcast, a YouTube channel, lots of different things, all about exercise and helping the mom incorporate exercise into their life while they are trying to take care of their baby. They're busy, and I give them really simple exercises that they can do, that they can have fun doing, and really get some great results with these exercises. And I love to talk about the core. That is the bread and butter of almost everything I teach. And so we go from the core, we branch out from there. We talk about the pelvic floor, we talk about, cardio, all those things. But when it comes down to it, the foundation is the core. So I love to teach about the core. And I love to hike and travel and do all things outside of nature with my family. So I'm just a really, involved mom with my family, but I also love to work and serve and help my clients as well.
I love it. You are exactly the kind of resource that I wish I would have had. My kids are 13 and 16, almost 14 and 17. And I just don't think that there was as much conversation around this stuff 17 years ago. And if there was, I was not in that community or a part of those conversations. So I'm excited that it's getting more airtime. And just the work that you do, I think, is so powerful in really helping postpartum moms establish a strong foundation so that they're building their health and their wellness and their fitness on that foundation. Um, so, we are going to specifically be talking kind of about the pelvic floor, and we can definitely tie the core into that a little bit because I just in that intro, you really kind of alluded to how they kind of play hand in hand. So, as you know, we talk a lot about resistance training, strength training, getting stronger, lifting those weights here. And I know for a lot of women, they do experience some symptoms, some things change a little bit after they have their babies. So, I am curious to know, first and foremost, what might be some signs or symptoms that there is maybe some pelvic floor dysfunction happening?
Yeah, there are a lot of them, but some key ones that most moms start to notice but maybe ignore will be a little bit of leaking that occurs. So, a little bit of urine might leak out into your underwear when you are sneezing, coughing, maybe even laughing. So, these are basic things that happen, throughout the day. We're sneezing, we're coughing, we're laughing, and a little dribble comes out, right? And we just think, oh, not a big deal. But really, that is the first sign that your pelvic floor is weak, that maybe something is going on. And we don't want to ignore that. So, that is a first indicator, but also pain that maybe lasts a little bit longer than what is normal. So everybody's different, but when you go and see your doctor, that is a good time to bring up the pain that you're having to see if it's normal for the stage that you are in. So that is something that you don't want it to go on for an extremely long period of time where this pain is lasting months and months and months and the pain has not changed.
And so when you're talking about pain, we're talking about pain predominantly right in that postpartum season.
Yeah, pain in the postpartum season in your vaginal area, down in your pelvic floor, internally. We're talking, the internal vaginal area. When you're having pain there, that is lasting longer beyond the postpartum phase. So you know how you get your 6-week postpartum checkup, you still might have pain then. But that's a good time to bring it up to your doctor to just distinguish if the pain is normal or if it's still excessive. So we do a pain scale, 0 to 10, and that would be a good time to talk to your doctor to see if that pain scale is on the high end rather than on the low end.
Okay. And what might be some ways? So if somebody, I mean, I know you're speaking predominantly in like the postpartum season, but if somebody is like, let's say several months or even several years after, and they're still
Yeah.
experiencing some leakage or maybe some heaviness, what would be some ways that they might be able to change up their lifting a little bit or modify their routine?
Yeah. So the first thing, so we're talking now further on beyond postpartum, and you're still having some residual effects from childbirth and from pregnancy, and you are having that leaking, you're having that pain. Maybe you're having pain with intercourse still. Maybe you're feeling a symptom of prolapse, which is when the internal organs are coming down a little bit, and you just feel like that heaviness is down in your pelvis. So, if you are having any kind of symptoms along those lines and you want to continue on with weightlifting, you will want to engage your pelvic floor muscles before doing any of the lifting. So, I'm going to sort of back up a little bit. We're not at the gym, we're not doing any kind of lifting at the moment, but I want to know if you can engage your deep inner pelvic floor muscles without the lifting first. Can you do the Kegel? Can you engage the pelvic floor and engage the core without the weights in your hand? If you can do that in an effective way, in a strong way, one way you can test that is by putting a tampon in your vagina and doing the Kegel and see if like you can hold the tampon in as you're trying to pull the tampon out and see if you can maintain that contraction. So that's just like a little way you can test yourself. But if you can get these Kegels to be strong enough and maintain the Kegel for a period of time, let's just say 8 to 10 seconds, then I would want you to try doing the lifting and see if you can hold the Kegel while you're doing the weightlifting. So there are lots of exercises that I always say, like, engage the core first before you lift your legs. Well, when you're doing weightlifting, I want you to engage the pelvic floor muscles first before you lift the weights.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be step one. And then another thing that I would recommend is lifting from a higher ground. So, not lifting from the floor, but maybe placing the weight on a bench. So, you're doing partial range for your lifts. So, keep the range a little bit smaller. So, if everyone understands what I mean by range of motion, you have full range of motion for exercises, but I would probably want you to decrease it to 50% range of motion. Make these movements a little bit easier, smaller range of motion, so you're not doing the big range. And then when you feel like you can do these lifts and maintain these Kegels, maintain that strength in your pelvic floor, then you can gradually make these movements bigger.
Okay. Those are some great tips. So, just kind of backing it up first and foremost, if you're experiencing the heaviness or the leakage, especially if you're months or even years after the postpartum, we want to start with that foundation of the pelvic floor. Can we engage this? Along those lines, what might be some specific exercises to help strengthen the pelvic floor? So, if somebody is like, okay, I'm having these symptoms, and when they go and kind of do the test, with the tampon or just the Kegel and they're not able to hold that, how would we want to start somebody there? I know you mentioned partial range of motion, but it sounds like even before that, what would be some
Mhm.
things that they could either do before or in conjunction with some lighter loads and partial range of motion?
Yeah, I do like to start with floor exercises lying on a yoga mat. So we're going back to the basics here. Lying on a yoga mat with your knee bent, and we're doing some pelvic tilting. And with the pelvic tilting, we're engaging the deep inner muscles, your transverse abdominis muscle, which is below your rectus abdominis. So we're going to engage the transverse abdominis, and you can do the Kegel at the same time. So that would be a win-win right there. You're doing the core and the pelvic floor together, and then we can also incorporate the breathing. So we are, making sure that we're breathing in and not holding our breath the whole time, breathing in and then slowly breathing out while we're doing these. So that's a good basic floor exercise, but I also love doing it on all fours. We call that quadruped, where you're on your hands and knees and you're tucking in your belly button to engage the abdominal muscles, the transverse abdominis, and you're engaging the Kegel pelvic floor muscles as well. So just changing your positioning can make a big difference because we're going against gravity now. When you're
Mhm.
lying on your back, gravity is assisting you. But when you go on your hands and knees and you're trying to bring your belly button up, towards the ceiling, we're going against gravity. So this is a good way to progress those, Kegels and the Kegel muscles and your deep inner core muscles.
Yeah, it is so interesting to me as a trainer, just like with the planking or bird dogs, even a lot of like bridge work or different, leg lowers and things like that to really cue people on, neutralizing that pelvis a little bit, kind of tucking the tailbone under to start to get some of that internal transverse abdominis engaged, but holding that still. It is phenomenal when you see people really slowing down and doing
Mhm.
those correctly, how much more challenging a lot of those core exercises can be versus just, kind of going through it and not really thinking about some of those little nuances. So those are great. What would be maybe some specific breathing techniques? So now we've kind of addressed the pelvic tilts, laying on your back, and then going into that quadruped position, which is kind of like tabletop on your hands and knees and doing the pelvic tilting that way. How are you cueing people to breathe, or what would be some breathing techniques that you have to help with that core engagement to protect the pelvic floor
Yeah.
during lifting?
Yeah, so I never recommend holding breaths. We all know that. Do not hold your breath. It increases the internal pressure in your body. So we have to breathe, but a lot of people forget to breathe. So I always recommend, so simple, but to count out loud while you're doing your exercise. Whether you're doing an isometric hold and you are holding the pelvic tilt for 8 seconds or 10 seconds, I recommend counting, and that requires you to breathe. That is the simplest thing to remember. When you're doing a lift, just count the lift out loud. And, you don't have to say, if you're at a gym, you don't have to say it very loud, just whisper it. But even the whisper will help engage, the breathing. So that's the big thing. I also like to do pursed lip breathing. So you're basically blowing out with your lips pursed. It's sort of like you're blowing out a candle. That helps to slow down your breath and really just elongates the breathing. And then breathing in through your nose is recommended as well. So just you're breathing in through your nose. I always say smell the roses and then breathe out through your mouth, blow out the candles. Those are the best tips to remember when it comes to breathing when you're doing your lifting exercises. But I also like to just do a simple breathing exercise when I'm driving is called box breathing. And I'm not sure if you've heard of this before, but box breathing is a 4-second hold in four sides of the box. Basically, you're taking a breath in for 4 seconds, and then you're holding your breath for 4 seconds, and then you're breathing out slowly with the pursed lip breathing for 4 seconds, and then you're holding that for 4 seconds. So that is the box breathing, and that really expands the lungs. That's my favorite. It's really relaxing. So that's something you can do in the car.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like that could just be a great technique, even though, yes, it's like teaching you how to breathe appropriately during lifting, but it can also be such a great stress reliever and mindfulness thing. So while you're driving, maybe while you're doing the dishes, before you're getting ready to have a stressful conversation, or when you start to feel yourself ratcheting up a little bit,
Yes.
you can be like, hey, I'm going to practice some breathing here. I
Yeah.
do also know, for me, at least when I first started using the box breathing, 4 seconds felt like a long time. So you could even start with, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I think anything that just brings a little bit more awareness to the body and the breathing can be huge. So, yes, I'm a big fan of the box breathing, of those different kinds of practices. And again, I'm always cueing, like, you've got to breathe through this, like, do not hold your breath. But sometimes it can be so easy, we think, if we just hold our breath and kind of power through, that it'll be easier. And a lot of times I think that's kind of how we approach just life in general. And so
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
like that reminder to breathe. Um, Last couple of questions here. And I think they kind of go together a little bit, but are there any like warning signs that we should look for that would indicate our need to scale back on lifting or to seek further help and evaluation? I know like the leakage, the heaviness or pain we've already talked about. Is there anything else that it would be like, oh, this is a strong indication that we should probably back off and go get some additional help?
Yeah, I think the big thing is prolapse. Prolapse seems to be the most serious thing where you might need to have medical attention for the prolapse. And the heavy lifting can make it far, far worse. And so if you have any of those signs that we talked about at the beginning, you want to take that pretty seriously and you want to get that looked at sooner rather than later because you can make it worse with the heavy lifting. So the prolapse is where you are feeling that heaviness dropping down. It sort of feels like you're having a baby again, how the head of the baby is coming down. It feels like your organs are coming down. And so if you feel something down there dropping, that heaviness, that's when you know that your muscles are just not strong enough to hold the organs up against gravity. And sometimes, some procedures need to take place, but again, you don't want that to go unnoticed, and you'd want to get some medical attention for sure. And I think the pain is the big thing. Like I said, um, you know, right now, while you're listening to this episode, write down what your pain number is. Is it a 5? Is it a 3? Just sitting here, or maybe you're lifting weights right now while you're listening to this. What is your pain right now? And if you are suspecting something is not right, and you're not ready to go to the doctor, in 2 weeks, reevaluate and mark down your pain again. I like to keep a calendar of my symptoms. So every day I like to write down how I'm feeling, whether that's just my mood or a pain that I'm having in my body, because we won't remember 2 weeks ago what our pain was. But if you are writing it down in a calendar and then you decide to track your pain and you notice like, oh man, my pain is a lot higher, then that's a sign that you'd want to go get some help.
I love that idea of tracking, just because I think that's so helpful anyway. So if you are, or if you're perimenopause or premenopausal, writing those symptoms down. If you're still menstruating, writing symptoms down. If you're noticing that your stool has changed, right? It's just like, I think that's such a great way to reconnect us to our bodies, to bring awareness. And then that way we can start to try to recognize some trends or some patterns so that we can step in and either make some appropriate changes and or get the help that we might need if there's something more serious going on. Well, thank you so much, Jena, for coming on and for giving us this little snippet of your expertise in the pelvic floor and the core and all of that. I know that this was super helpful for me. And if people are wanting to connect with you or learn more about you, we will for sure have those show notes or have your links and your information in the show notes. But is there any place that you would want to point people to directly if they're listening to this and they want to go learn more about you?
Yeah, you can definitely come and listen to my show, the Fit Postpartum Mom podcast. And I am again on livecorestrong.com for my website, and on Instagram is livecorestrong. But if you want to join any of my free workout challenges, you can go to livecorestrong.com/join. And I have a lot of free resources there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thanks everybody for tuning in and hanging out with us today.
Hey, Mama, what did you think of that interview? I thought it was really inspiring, and I hope you're coming out of that with inspiration to strengthen your core, to finally fit fitness into your lifestyle, to do something. Don't just be here listening to the show and not do anything about it. Let's start working out together. I'd love for you to join me in my program, Postpartum Ab Rehab, but if you are not ready to join a program, just take the advice I give you on the show and keep working out and keep staying plugged in. Another place you can go is my free Facebook group, and I will link that in the show notes below, where we are working out and staying accountable to one another. And remember to always live core strong. Hey Mama, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts? It would bring me so much joy. Simply scroll down to the stars and click Write a Review. Your review will help more women discover our podcast. Let's grow this fit mom movement together. And if you want your friends to come alongside you on this postpartum fitness journey, invite them to our free Facebook group where you can get motivated together. Community is key to success, and that's what I want for you. So join ours by going to the link in the show notes, and before you know it, the baby weight will be falling off as quickly as those stinky diapers. I can't wait to see you on the next episode of the Fit Postpartum Mom Podcast.